All right, here we are. I'm doing a quick video here to look over some of the data that's come out of 17Lands over the first week of the Alchemy set on Arena. Um, so yeah, I'm just gonna be doing a quick overview of like how I view stuff. Who am I to be like telling you what to do? I'm not. I just sort of am a data. I'm a data user, so I kind of we bow down to the 17Lands data here. But I'm just going to talk a little bit about what cards have impressed me, what cards have not impressed me, what cards are doing well, and some other stuff as well. So I think we're actually going to start with the color pair ratings. They give you a good contextual representation of how the set is going. And so far, Boros is the best deck, and there are a number of reasons for this. Aggressive styles of deck tend to be better in the early part of a format when people don't really know what they're doing and they're trying a bunch of new stuff and whatever. But also, Boros has the double team mechanic, and the double team mechanic is very, very good because it generates card advantage when you attack, which means you kind of like you have a buffer from yourself running out of gas. It means you win like almost every game on the play. Like being on the play matters a lot. I don't think the data for the play draw win rate stuff is out yet, but yes. So other decks that are also really good: Orzhov, Selesnya here, and then Rakdos. Though that's sort of your tier 1 of deck right now. If you're playing a deck that has white in it, you're pretty happy, with the exception of Azorius, which seems to not be especially great. Yeah, I think the blink stuff has sort of been unimpressive to me in what I've played against. I have not played blue yet in any of my drafts. I have played exclusively all of the other colors and not blue. I played actually a lot of Selesnya, and I found it to be very good, so I really enjoyed playing Selesnya. I do think Boros is the best deck, and obviously the data is. It's just that Orzhov, I had a great Orzhov deck. I've basically, if you're playing the busted white cards, as we'll get to in a little bit, you're going to be doing very well. And this does bring about a color hierarchy, with the top color being white, and I don't think it's like especially close. Black is also very good. Maybe you could say black and white are sort of the same or similar tiers. I think it is white at number 1 and then black at number 2. 3, the deck win rates suggest that green is worse than red. It seems, because you've got both Boros and Rakdos here, whereas with green it's just Selesnya. So any other green decks don't seem to be doing especially well. Golgari is the 4th best deck. It's sort of the top of tier 2. It's sort of in its own tier, really. Golgari is kind of tier 2. And then there's tier 3 of Azorius, Dimir, Gruul, and Simic. And then there's, like, don't play this, which is Izzet. And Izzet is truly awful. As you can see, nobody is playing it. Basically, just don't. Blue is unplayable in this set. Just totally unplayable. It's so unplayable it even makes white like at mediocre, which is really saying a lot. So that's sort of like a good place to start and see like what is winning and what's not in the set so far. Now we're going to go back to the cards here. We're going to start with some of the top stuff. This Hourglass Coven being number 1. Are we really surprised? The card's just an absurd amount of value for 6 mana. You're getting basically 9/9 of stats until the main guy dies, but it's just there's really not much to say about many of these cards. They look really good. They are really good. What I think tends to be more interesting to look at is the commons. So the best common right now is Blessed Hippogriff, and it's in white, and that's not a surprise. A lot of the 3 best commons are all white cards, and obviously there is something to be said that it sort of builds on itself, right? The idea of a win rate building on itself, because white commons are likely to be indexed with other white commons. So their win rate are correlated. Like the better white decks are, the better white commons are going to be. And I know I sort of glossed over it, but I'm going to be looking basically exclusively at games in hand win rate for cards because that's just the best comprehensive stat to be looking at stuff. There's other stats. The other stats that tend to be relevant for me are average last CNAT and average taken at. Sort of the difference here. Generally, average taken at is higher than average last CNAT. Just sort of as a general thing. All right, so we talked. So these are the best. The best three commons are white commons: the Bust Hippogriff, Priest of Ancient Lore, and Patch Rider's Humiliation, which is maybe or maybe not how you pronounce that. Nobody really knows. Many people have said that it's something else, but I don't know. And then actually, this is the first like obviously Patch Rider's Humiliation. I did not think was going to be as good as it is, and I sort of with Hippogriff. It's one of those cards where you just kind of like always forget that the flying. Like if the card was just 4 mana 2/3 flyer that also had the instant part of it, it would be really good. But then it also like makes another one of your creatures flying randomly when it attacks, and it's just absurd. Like the fact that there's a common that's better than Priest of Ancient Lore is problematic because this card is already really, really good, as we learned in the last set with Angelic Overseer. All right, so these have been like the big. This is the biggest surprise for me so far that we've looked at is Undersold Myconid, which it's just it does sort of it's very annoying. First of all, there are a lot of creatures in the set, especially in white, that have 1 toughness, and this kind of like really eats those alive. So this is really good at kind of getting on the board, and it does more stabilizing than it looks like because. There are a lot of the good decks. The Boros wants to be attacking you and other stuff, and a lot of those 2-drops have 1 toughness, and this really plays well against those. And it also does ramp you, allows you to fix, play a bunch of colors, all that stuff's fun or whatever. I don't know, not really my thing. I tend to sort of lean into the more aggressive lane of things. Next to this card, it's absurd. Of course, it's the best black common. If you thought it was going to be what's it called? Grim Bounty, you were not like that wrong, to be honest. Like my takes about removal are getting exposed a little bit because this is a set where removal matters a lot. And good removal is good. Usually, like, sometimes the good removal is just still bad. But good removal seems to be good in this set, which is sort of a departure from what we've seen in recent sets. Continuing down the line, you'll notice that the first 3 are black, and then you got a green, and then some black. Or first 3 are white, and then it's green, and then black, and then you got some more green. And you don't get to a red common until Genasi Rabble Rouser here, and it's like the 15th or 16th one. And so that sort of tells you, that's why I think that green is better than red. The deck win rates don't necessarily support that. But I think green is a better standalone color than red is because it has better high-end commons. Like the Dread Linorm is really, really good. Owlbear, which I think is here as well. Although we talked about Myconid as well. We have Hill Giant Herdgorder, which is really good. And they kind of all play very well together. They don't really necessarily play very well with other colors. Green is kind of doing its own thing, which usually isn't very good, but it seems to be okay, at least in the comments. But then so here's your first red common, and it's Genasi Rabble Rouser. This is just kind of like example number 1 of why a double team, like, it's just really good. Because 2 mana 1/3s are sort of notably terrible. But this card really shows what they're good at. Like, a 2 mana 1/3 that gets something when it attacks and survives is a good thing. Like this versus if you were to look at Horde Robber. Horde Robber is a 56.2% win rate. And Horde Robber is a 2 mana 1/3 that does not get something if it attacks, it gets something if it connects. And there's a huge difference there. But they both sort of survive and stick around and do stuff on the battlefield. So let's get back here. And now here's the real sad state of affairs. We're going to be scrolling a long time until we find the first blue common. We got Pilgrim's Eye here before the first blue common. We've got everything, and here it is. It's Young Blue Dragon. The best blue common is winning at a win rate of 55.9%, which is lower than the average 17Lands user win rate currently. Obviously, that will sort of flatten down towards 55 as the set goes on. But for now, it's a sad state of affairs for blue. It's really bad. There just aren't any good cards in blue. This is the best one, and it doesn't even. It just isn't even impressive. It doesn't, like, what is it doing? Like, the adventure is a sorcery, which is terrible. Like, if the sorcery were like, they couldn't give blue like anything. The sorcery has to be like, or the adventure has to be a sorcery. Like, really, come on here, right? Like, relax. Like, you're an inspiring bard tier. That's how bad blue is. Yeah. So those are sort of like your top commons. In white, we talked about them already. For black, we can look at some of the colors here. For blue, yeah, none of these are good. Like, don't play any of them. They're all really bad. So just try not to play blue. Black, Shambling Ghast being number 2 doesn't necessarily surprise me. I think I do need to pick it a little bit higher because it is really annoying to play against, and it is very good when you are playing it because you want to do all the stuff that it's doing. Vampire Spawn, after a rough showing at the start of the first set of data came in, and Vampire Spawn was winning at like 54%, and I was like, what's going on? But no, it's gone. It just had a little bit of bad variance, and that's why you got to wait on some of these numbers. Like, we got 11,000 games in hand. I'm pretty confident about how good the commons are when you get that much data on them. I'm in Grim Bounty. Good removal spell, the treasure token matters. In red, we talked about Genasi Rabble beating out Dragon's Fire. Not a surprise to me. Generally, the best, if you're, as like a general rule, in limited these days, the best common removal spell will always be worse than the best common creature, and if that's not true, then that color is bad. Because it's generally better to be proactive in modern limited than it is to be reactive. And if your color is reactive first, you may or may not be in for a rough time, especially over the last couple sets that have been more aggressive. No real surprises here. Hoggon Captain is the third, and you've got some other good commons here. Yep. So next color, we're going to look at green. This is a huge surprise. We talked a little about Myconid, and then it's Linorm and Ildgiant Herdgorger. Owlbear being number 4. Now, I don't think anybody would have believed you if you told you that. Now, it's only 0.3% off Ildgiant Herdgorger. It's not, the numbers aren't huge here, but this tier here, this tier 1, is significantly above this tier. It's a whole 1%, and then this tier is about another 1% above Band Together, which is the only removal spell really green that has. So, yeah, Null Hunter is fine, but I'm just going to look a little bit down here. This card, like, don't play this card. I know you may have seen some streamers play with this card. Just don't do it. It's bad. So it's the same with this one. It's not good. Don't play it. Don't be fooled. Next, multicolor there are none because it's not a color set. Now, here's the bait guns. Iron Golem. Now this is a hot topic right now. Iron Golem is hot in the streets because it has a 58.3% win rate. It started off the format with a 60% win rate, and I was like, should I be playing Iron Golem in my decks? Why is it winning 60% of the time? And it's definitely not that good. It's currently still the quote unquote best common. Now the games at hand win rate is only 1,600, but it has gone up significantly because people have been playing it and they're like, wait a minute, is this card good? Because people look at the data and it's starting to propagate throughout, and there are believers out there, and I'm a little bit of a believer. With the Hippogriff in white, it's very, very good because you it basically just starts eating stuff. If we go back to white here, if you play it with this and you use the instant on it, use the adventure on the Iron Golem, it's really good. So that's sort of like the combo that you want to be using when you're playing an Iron Golem. Otherwise, it's not anything spectacular. All right, we're gonna move on to uncommons. We don't really have like, as again, there's not as much data. There's still enough here, I think, to really give a good representation. So first we have Sea Tower Imprisonment in white. This card is just really great. This type of card is just really, really good. Double Team makes this even better. There's really nothing else to say. This card is really nice. It's been very good. And same with this guy. It's just a lot of good stuff. Now this is surprising. It really shows you how aggressive white can be, I guess. Like the versatility on it too is not nothing. You're usually tapping 3 target creatures with it. I have not really ever wanted to create 3 soldier tokens, but I'm sure that it could come up. This has been surprisingly playable. Guiding Bolt has been surprisingly playable, but it we'll see. I'm still not convinced on it yet. We'll see where it ends up. And then just a bunch of other stuff. The lands have been good, so you should be picking the lands pretty highly because they are good cards, and they do replace your stuff. This card is probably overrated as well, I would guess. It's getting taken at these rates, well, like the Gate is getting taken at 6.9, when the Gate is probably like even just a better card. Like even this, this, I don't know, it is actually strange, really. Should I, the data here is pretty significant. Again, Portable Hole's bad. Don't play Portable Hole. This card having a 49% win rate is just a testament to how good white is. Like a lot of these are buoyed by how good white is too. So there's some of that going on here. Blue. This card, Sword Coaster, this is where we get some like playable blue cards. It's just these 2 uncommons, but if you get like 6 of each of these, you could have a blue deck, and then you don't do anything still, but I don't know. There's just nothing to like about blue. Sorry, we're moving on. Black. Still Skullport Merchant reigning supreme over the Black Dragon. And then Vicona, which is just an absolute beating. This card is absurd. Like, it just is just an absolute, unbelievable, like, card. I don't know why they made the 2-mana 2/3 specializers. Like, there's one of these and there's one in green as well. Like, why? Why did it need to be a 2/3? It's an uncommon. This just does so much for you. And it's above. Notice again, this is like the trend is the three good creatures above the good removal spell. Right? And then here's the removal spell having the lower stats, the better average taken at data despite being worse. This is sort of like my thesis that removal is overrated. Coming back to Roost here. Red. Now, here's an example of when removal is not overrated. This card is absurd. This card is just great. This is the type of removal I like because it gives you something. Now, I like the Patchwork Simulation because it's just so efficient and it deals with abilities. But this card gets you something for the. You're almost always getting at least +1/+0 off of this card. It's just really good. What else to say? Battlecry Goblin and this thing's really good also. All the cards in red are cool. This card has been surprisingly, I don't know about surprisingly. I looked at it. This is a card you look at like when you're looking at the set and you're like, is this card going to be good? And then it seems to be like just about average currently. Same with this. I thought this card would be terrible, but it's not completely awful. So I don't know. Keep an eye out on it. This card has had a tough ride. When I first looked at it, I thought it was terrible. A lot of people said it was really good, and I was like, maybe I should reevaluate it. And it started out really good, and then now it has been deemed to be bad by the community. So I don't know. Same with this card. It just kind of is bad, I guess. I don't know. This is like a deck. If you're deck is attacking, you want this card. Like Knoll Hunting Party, I think is really deck specific. If you have a lot of 2-drops, like let me actually go give you an example of a deck that I think you want to have the Knoll Hunting Party in it, and it's this one, right? So I have all of these 2-drops, like so many 2-drops, and I have like the Knoll Hunting Party here, and I'm only playing one of them. But you just really need to have stuff that gets on. You need to, like, every single game be having a 2-drop. Like, if you only have, like, 5 2-drops, don't be playing Knoll Hunting Party. It just isn't good enough. Alright, so let's move on to green here for the uncommons. And the green's best uncommon is the Draconic Muralist. This card's absurd. Oh my god, it's incredible. And there's the other specialized thing that doesn't need to be a 2/3, but is for some reason. This card also, Druid of the Emerald Gold, I thought would be bad, because I think ramp is usually bad and limited. Wrong, this card's really absurd. Because Creed really wants to be playing its giant commons that are its best cards, so this just helps you do that. And there's a huge drop-off between Prosperous Keeper and Owlbear Shepherd. Owlbear Shepherd is another one of those cards that everybody early in the format is like, wow, this is really good, and now the win rates come in, and you're kind of like, it's not as impressive as it was when I first saw it. Alright, so now we're going to look at some rares. I'm not going to look at the mythics, they don't have enough data, although, whatever. And the rares, like, these are just busted. Like, we all know how good these are. This is a blue card. This is a reason to be playing blue. Like, this card, I can't believe its stats are as high as they are, because, like, this card wants you to be playing blue-red, and blue-red is truly awful. So, and this card, I think, got underrated. So I think we may need to look at... I may need to look at this card again, because I think it actually seems to be decent. These are... Again, these win rates are... you're going to need another week to know 100% which rare is the most busted of the busted rares. I think this card on curve is the most busted of the busted rares. Actually, because if you've played with this card and you like play it on turn 2, you just are like, oh, I'm never losing the game now, because all of the cards in my hand are just getting extreme amounts of value compared to what they should be doing. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. This thing is like the death of everything. You can't ever interact with it, so like good luck. Oh, and Ascent for Avernus has really done well. I thought this card would be bad. I don't think that I read it properly. I guess I just didn't account for like double team putting stuff in your graveyard, like putting more things in your graveyard because you would have more small stuff when you were attacking. But yeah, this card plays really well with that, along with just like pretty much anything. I think even without double team, this card is like still really good. Any other rares I want to talk about? This guy I thought would be better. It involves blue mana, so it kind of sucks. But like if this was like if this instead of having blue mana for its ability had white mana, it would be like way better. It is forcing you to play blue mana in your deck, which you don't want to do. Yeah, so that's actually going to do it, I think. This has been like my little 17Lands walkthrough of Alchemy Horizons Baldur's Gate. I'm probably going to do another check-in at some point in the near future. I just kind of want to see where things are. This is sort of like a record to see where things are at. In this set, so I will check back in with the stuff again in another week or so. All right.